hear you now.
Yeah, I know.
It's a little bit loud there.
That's okay. All good.
Yes. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous. And you?
I'm really doing well today. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. You look nice. I like your necklace. That's very cool.
Thank you. That's a little Soultopia. It's an artist, Julia. She's from Colorado.
Nice.
Julia, and it's energy art. And this is the fairy forest one. So
very cool.
We have them at Soultopia. So I was talking to you today about a current event that we are going to just talk about briefly, hopefully.
Yep.
And I posted it on my my personal page, not on Soultopia, just to see what people would say. Because some people times they just go crazy on these subjects. They get really
they get riled up.
Riled up, and I didn't mean to. I just thought it was interesting. Sephora, the beauty. I never go there, but my daughter has gone there.
Yeah.
They have come out with a little kit that says the Witch's Starter Kit, and it has some oils. I'm not sure what's all's in it. A couple crystals. I think maybe a little tarot deck, and then some sage.
Right. Yeah, I saw that on there.
So I just thought we could talk about it briefly because it sparked quite the controversy. Apparently, there's some people who are. The headlines basically, witches are protesting the use of this. They think they're commercializing this,
right?
And so primarily, I would say, Wiccan would be the umbrella religion that's recognized. So, in my opinion, I kind of kept quiet about it because I can kind of see it both ways. But to me, I just don't like to judge whatever anybody does, really. I mean, for whatever religion, if they're not falsely representing you, I'm not sure why you're so upset about it. It might bring some attention to your religion or to your practices that somebody might not know about. And if you really believe in that, then there might be some exposure to that for people that know nothing about it.
Right. And, that's one of the things, though, they feel like, there's a response of it's being commercialized, which isn't great. But, a lot of people have bobblehead nuns and, they'll have caricatures of the Pope or different things. And,
Well, at the Baptist churches, you go in and, the one I went to had 2 big bookstores.
Right.
Big, huge bookstores. And so, you could argue, is that right or not right? But the thing is I own a store and I have crystals there. So unless we put all the crystals back, I've said this many times, unless we put them back in the ground, well, is that commercialization of crystals? And no, it's not necessarily a religion, but it is a practice that many people use.
Yeah.
So I think you could look at it both ways, and I think it's interesting. It was a very timely current event. Literally it's all over the internet right now, at least in our circles it is. So.
Right. Well, and I know that, so one of the things people worry about is it maybe being a little degrading, but, we were just talking last week about unicorns and how unicorns I remember the images of unicorns in the 70s were like really awesome paintings and really cool, beautiful artwork, and now they're it's unicorns farting rainbows.
It is.
So it's a whole different, it's just a different culture and climate and way of looking at things. In some ways, this is going to open up the Wiccan world to a lot of people that maybe hadn't been exposed before. But it's, I understand that people are going to feel that it's also irreverent and
potentially.
Yeah.
I don't see it as irreverent because it wasn't really. It was a package of items you would use and tools you would use. So I guess it depends on what they say inside of it, which I haven't seen. And I can't judge who came up with it because you know what? That person may be Wiccan. So how do we really
know? Yeah, you don't know.
And there was a lot of, they haven't done their, excuse me. I can't talk.
Water? You okay?
Yeah, they haven't done the research or anything like that. And I'm like, how do you know?
Right, yeah.
Right.
So do you want to go ahead and get into our subject for today? Okay. So today we were going to talk about haunted places in Texas that we had been researching. And we kind of started with a Dallas list, and then it sort of broadened because what really came up as something important is some of the places that we've had our own experiences at, because Michelle and I have done a little bit of exploration on our own. And you want to talk about
Well, sure. So one that's, first of all, my husband, Roger, actually to go to all of these places. He has the little paranormal tools. He has all the things go off, and I don't know what they're all
Oh, that's
called.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, you have to go with us sometime.
Oh yeah,
it's really
definitely,
fun.
definitely.
And I will give a good shout out to the McKinney Ghost Tour. Some friends of mine do that. It's actually very interesting. So if you like history, it's very interesting regarding the history. And then they also pull in some, and they'll have their equipment with them and see if you sense things. They show you where they take people under the road from the jail to go to the courthouse and stuff that you don't even know that's there, and you can feel it on the road. Because I was like, I'm feeling something under this road. What's going on? And there were tunnels under there.
Wow.
And they didn't tell you that until a little bit later. And so they do a really excellent job of doing these ghost tours. So they're not always hokey. There's actually people who do these tours in different towns who truly are good at paranormal research and have studied it quite a bit. Another place that I have been is a place called, and I'm not good with like where I am, like if I don't drive there, if I can't tell you if it's Denton or where exactly it is, but it's somewhere in the Dallas area, and it's called the Goatman's Bridge. I think it's maybe Argyle, but around there somewhere. And so I did go with somebody who had all the equipment, and it was a group of us, and the lore behind that is kind of sad, actually. There was allegedly a lynching there off that bridge a long time ago, and so then and he was a goat farmer. The man who was lynched. And so when I walked across the bridge, I just had overwhelmed. I knew nothing when I went. I didn't read anything. I deliberately tried to not know what I was expecting out there.
Right, going
And so I thought, what's goat man thing? What's that? And I just got more overwhelming sense of sadness. And then when you walk all through there, you also pick up on different things. That some other things have happened and transpired out there that maybe weren't so good, like maybe some rapes and things of that nature. Well, seriously, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no,
and you could feel it. And then also I felt some old like battlegrounds even out there. So it's interesting when you go to these places and there's a lot more activity or energy that you feel as opposed to what you're told you're going to feel. Now, once I found out that that's what had allegedly happened to him, that was my overwhelming sadness while I was on the bridge. And I could definitely feel something, but I didn't see like a goat man, half man, half goat or anything like that.
Right.
At all.
Right. And it was probably initially started out as a goat herder and then developed into goat man.
The lore of it. Yeah. And the mystique of it.
And of course, that's also often our symbol for the devil is half man, half goat. And so that ties into that too.
Pawn and all that. So, well, what about you?
So I've had a few interesting ones. Several years ago, we were going camping out in Mineral Wells. And out there is a place called the Baker Hotel. And it was built specifically for people to go and experience the mineral water of Mineral Wells. And that was, so it was like a spa type hotel back in the turn of the last century. And, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't done I researched on this years ago before I went. And it's a beautiful building. I'm a junkie for old architecture, and especially anything around, the early 1900s. And so it's exquisite. And I went up to it, and of course, the thing I got really excited about was all the plants that were still growing. It had, old pomegranate trees and roses, and they were just thriving and blooming prolifically, and it was super awesome. But that's, old garden, Texas gardening. And all the windows are sealed over with wood, but there have been, sightings of different ghosts or lights coming on and that kind of thing. Well, my kids were with me, and my youngest was maybe 6 at the time. And we walked through the entire property on the outside that we could walk through. It's not like fenced off or anything. And I was just curious at what I might feel because from the outside I didn't really get anything except that I wasn't supposed to be there, Well, my youngest Oscar he ran right inside. There was a piece of wood taken off at his level, And he just walked right through. Wow. And it was into a giant foyer, so there was actually some light coming in. It wasn't super dark in that regard. But the building itself had a feeling of being raped of all of everything, because its merchandise, except for a few chandeliers, literally was stripped. But energetically, it was heavy, and it felt. I mean, probably part of that was that it was probably moldy and stoic, and not a lot of airflow. But to me, I felt like this was definitely not a place that I was really welcome or supposed to be in. And I was really anxious to get my son out of there, who was kind of running around and frolicking.
Right.
I'm like, don't fall, please.
It wasn't bothering him, though.
Yeah.
He couldn't feel it.
No, he seemed okay. And, he's a pretty intuitive little guy. So, but most of the sightings people have had there was, the idea that a woman had been a lover and she'd thrown herself off the building and committed suicide. I believe that story is supposed to be true. But most people were there for recovery. And so, they were going there to feel better from whatever their ailments were, because back at, prior to penicillin, we relied heavily on mineral waters and herbs, and our plant knowledge. And so, a lot of the sightings people have are very positive, not negative experiences. Right. And I think, if a place is haunted, a lot of my feelings about it are that, a lot of times if someone's going to pass and they want to visit, they're probably going to want to visit places that were positive experiences for them. But, I do know that people sometimes have unresolved business, and they do have to revisit negative places too.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I will bring up the Hotel Galvez in Galveston. That one's another one where it was a bride who apparently committed suicide. That's a theme. I will say that.
Okay.
It seems quite a few places have that theme.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is would be sad. But she was waiting. Apparently, the story goes, and again, I may not have it perfectly correct, but she was waiting for her betrothed, the one she's promised to marry, to come in from war or something. I can't remember what. Okay, come in on a ship. And she killed herself before, and then he came in later. He was delayed or something like that happened. So, anyways, apparently she's I call them disincarnate spirits. So she's just still there. She's never gone, what I would say, crossed over, gone to the light. Okay, so she's still there, and Roger and I went, and we went to the room. And when I first went, I just walked up to the door, and I was like, because I am pretty skeptical. And I walked up, and I was like, I don't feel anything. I mean, I see spirits and stuff, but I mean, these hotels, and I will say my opinion about it in just 1 minute. But we walked up to the room, and then we kind of walked away, and I said, let's just go back. And when we went back and turned the corner to go down the hall to that room, we both got an overwhelming, that musky smell, headache, heavy energy. And what I felt about it was this sadness again, because I thought, wow, this has really become quite the story. And I'm sure there have been people who've gone to try to go in that room and help her cross to the light and leave. But it makes me sad to think someone's stuck in a place. There's a residual images, which Roger's seen. He grew up around a lot of Civil War battlegrounds and things like that, like in Mississippi.
Okay, yep.
And so he'll see, when you see something like repeating, a soldier's walking by and he turns and looks at you, and then the soldier's walking by and he turns and looks at you, and it goes over and over and over. That's like an imprint. It's like a residual imprint. And it's not really a ghost per se. It's not it's just an imprint of energy that's coming through, almost
like a hologram. That's amazing. I didn't know about that.
And
I love that.
And he's seen that. The one had a dog following him, and he would see it from his grandmother's, I believe, and he's seen it would be over and over, and it would just do the exact same thing. So that person's not trapped in a loop, and he didn't feel that at all. But I believe if you're a paranormal investigator or something like that, and maybe many do, I actually gave a speech at one of the conferences about crystals and things like that. But I said in it, why are we not going in and helping all these people go to the light? Because I think it's just really sad if they're stuck there. Another interesting one that I just wanted to mention was in Galveston. And again, I don't have my exact dates and everything, but the story is, and this one, many people have witnessed this. I mean, friends of mine who are skeptics. There was the big hurricane that almost destroyed so many things, and there was an orphanage. I believe it was an orphanage, not a school, but it was on the property where now the Toys R Us it resides, and or at least last time we were there, it was the Toys R Us, and the toys at night will all be out on the floor. And balls and bikes and everything, and the workers have to come back in and pick it up, and they actually close early, is my understanding, because of all the activity, the paranormal activity that goes on there.
They want to get out of there.
But those kids are playing, you know, and that's what they're doing. So, you know, I definitely believe it's real. I just definitely feel that I don't want to. It makes me kind of sad. I don't want to capitalize on any of that, or you know, I'll go and I want to learn from it. But if I was to actually, you know, come across, I'm going to try to say, you know, why? Even in New Orleans, I felt that so much from Katrina.
Yeah.
I came back just so heavy, and I think I've told you that.
Yeah.
Just so heavy, just with those who haven't actually crossed over. And I really had to do some work with a couple friends in my office to try to get that just removed from me, because I'd just taken on so much of that.
That's interesting, you know, because when I went to New Orleans, it was before Katrina, but I felt a heaviness there in general. But, you know, there's a lot. New Orleans has a lot of history. There's a lot that's gone on there. So I did, I think, energetically feel that. And, you know, my experience at the Baker Hotel was that I really wasn't supposed to be there. And I actually think I was disappointed, because I wanted to have a positive experience. And I didn't get that, which was okay, you know, but it was kind of a lesson that, like, okay, you know, I'm not meant to go out and do any sort of ghost hunting or researching kind of thing.
I don't think it's not my gig, but I do have some people that I'm friends with. Like I said, the people who run the McKinney ghost tour, I admire them, Michelle Mooneyham and a couple others very much, Melinda West, that have that tour. Go do that, you guys, if you want something to do around Halloween or something fun, because it's actually history too. I think Denton has a really good one too. But another place in Dallas supposedly is the Snuffers.
Oh yes, they've done. There's a lot of articles and stuff on Snuffers down on Lower Greenville, the original one. Right,
and then I think that they said that they've recently remodeled the Dolphus, but that's another place. And another big one, Six Flags Over Texas.
That one surprised me. I didn't know about Six Flags.
So you know, it's like in the candy shop, a girl named Annie, and somewhere near the railroad. Now I don't know if I believe that or not. I haven't checked it out. I mean, who knows? But what I found interesting had nothing to do with the ghost or the incarnate spirits. Yeah, it was the fact that he opened that trying to have an affordable Disney World or Disneyland.
Right.
That's what I found interesting. It had nothing to do, just the history of it and why some of these places were open, and the fact that Dallas was such a boom town at one point, and people would come into Union Station, and so a lot of those hotels
down there,
were on the list of haunted, allegedly haunted places.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The Statler's another one, which has just been remodeled in Dallas, and oh my God, it's fabulous.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a 60s contemporary, and so it's just really cool. But there is an elevator, I know, that they said sometimes kind of goes on its own. Oh, and it also, the elevator goes really fast, which is a little freaky.
Is it an old elevator or a
it's the original elevator.
Yeah. That is interesting.
They've kept a lot of the original work in there. So if you're into like mid-century modern, it's definitely worth checking out. And the restaurants are really, really good in there.
I've actually been there.
Yep.
I gotta say, if you go to the 19th floor, I believe, which is the underwater or under something bar. It's a bit creepy because there's only one elevator or two that go there, and one time we stayed there for 10 minutes, the elevator wouldn't arrive.
Right.
And we started getting really worried because we're like, are we stuck? We couldn't get access to any stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and it does say something in my notes about that 19th floor, I believe.
Yes.
It actually does. So interesting. that also we stayed at the Driscoll when we saw Tanner not too long ago
Down in Austin.
And that one's same thing, very interesting history. The guy built this amazing hotel. He was a cattle baron. And then he lost it all, like, I don't know, maybe 3 months later, 3 weeks later. It was a very short amount of time.
Wow.
Gambling.
Oh,
He lost the whole thing.
Wow.
So that to me was like fascinating. But there again is a story on a certain floor. I think it's the 5th floor. I can't remember. That people will get that room, and supposedly a couple of people have killed women again have killed themselves in the committed suicide in the bathtub, and you can supposedly see the guy, the cattle baron, coming down, the stairs and things like that. And one other girl that apparently stumbled down the stairs. I didn't see anything, but I will tell you that I felt that heavy energy.
Okay.
But again, the other place just quickly I wanted to mention is my first marriage was in, we basically rented out the whole town of Jefferson. And that is known to be, that town should have been like the Dallas, okay, because that's where all the railroads went through.
Right.
And so it was the hub before the railroads, died out and the automobile came in. And so Lady Bird Johnson would stay at the Excelsior House, and a lot of people have stayed there, and that's where I had my reception.
Oh, cool.
So I just want to tell you one interesting thing. So we had an old church that we got married in. It was very cute, very white, just what you think of as a chapel church. And as I was about to go down the aisle, we had the choreographer and everything's so ready for the wedding, and so much work's gone into all this stuff. And my dress got stuck on the pew, but it wasn't stuck on the pew. It was stuck on nothing. And something was holding my dress
Holding you back.
Something was holding my dress back. 26 years later, I don't know.
Wow.
We're not married, but something was, and the guy, he comes over, he's all out of sorts, trying to undo my dress and thinking he's stuck on the pew, and it was nothing. But I literally was going like this, and something was holding my dress.
Wow. They were trying to get you to wait for Roger.
I know, right?
Sweet.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different places. And then just one more, and I know we're short on time. Granbury? Yeah. Yeah,
Granbury.
There. And another interesting thing, you guys, I don't know if it's haunted or anything, but the Below Mansion, where all the Bar Association, all the luncheons and all that kind of stuff are held, that was where that used to be a morgue, and that's where I believe they did the autopsy on Bonnie and Clyde. Check the facts on that, but that's what I've been told.
Interesting.
It was the Below.
I'm going to be checking now.
Yeah, check that one. Tell me if I'm right on that. So, do you want me to talk about my crystals? Because I can be really fast. Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
So the crystals I brought today, I've actually talked about before on the podcast. I brought Black Obsidian, and it's technically not a crystal. It's a glass. It's volcanic glass that cools very quickly, so it does not have time to crystallize. So it's inside, the internal structure is what we call amorphous, meaning no designated shape. So it doesn't have I just said a bad word. A crystal. Sorry. Oh my gosh. It doesn't have a crystal. Oh my gosh. Lattice network. So it is, but we'll still call it a crystal. And so there's rainbow obsidian, there's all kinds of obsidian, but black obsidian is the one that's known for the paranormals. Well, people who work in that, ghost hunters or whatever, they'll work with black obsidian for protection. I brought this one that's like this beautiful rainbow heart. And then this one is just, I don't know how you felt when you were holding it.
I love that one.
This one is actually absolutely gorgeous. And so the only thing I usually say is, just use it in small quantities, because it acts very quickly, and it can bring up the shadow side, but it's also very, very protective. Yeah. So there you go. I was quick.
Yeah, you were. Okay, so I brought in for plant Devil's Bit, which is also, the Latin is scabiosa, and we also call it here in Texas pincushion flower, because it grows here really well. Although it is native to Europe. And when you see the picture, you'll see that it looks like it's got little pins all in it. It's so cute.
You find the most amazing things.
Yeah. So, and the one we have in Texas looks a little different than that one. But it was recommended for exorcism. And, when I was looking through this in magical books and magical